And we're back. We are so back tonight. So I hope you guys enjoyed our earliest segment with Dr. Samuels from the Southern University Political Science Department. Tonight, at this hour, we have two of our college students. You heard from them on Thursday, and you're going to hear from them tonight. We're going to talk raw, so we really want to hear what you have to say tonight. So just be sure to go online and like and share, add all of your friends, bring them in because we want to hear what you're saying. If you're watching something, let us know. Let us know. So tonight at this hour, we're going to have Miss Tania Williams. Hi, Tania. Welcome
Hi.
back. We're going to have Mr. James Jefferson. Hi, James.
Hey,
Welcome
how are you?
back. Good. See, like you got a little munchings in between break, right? I'm
Yeah,
jealous.
y'all said it was a party, right?
Oh, it's a party. And now we have Mr. Christopher Howard. Hey, Chris, how are you? Are you well? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, good. And now we have also Miss Kelsey. Hi, did I say it correctly, Kelsey?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
Good. So what does everybody have going on at this 7 o'clock hour?
I'm getting ready to start my election watch night party with some of my friends.
Okay, good.
We're starting when Louisiana polls close, but we are watching some of the other states roll in right now. So
Okay, wonderful. So we're going to come back to you. We want to hear about what you're seeing. And then, Chris, what are you doing tonight?
Well, I just got finished doing some homework, so I wasn't able to really look at look at stuff. But now I'm watching it on live right now on YouTube. So
Good.
yeah.
And so we know, thank you for joining us. And Tania?
Yes. Well, I didn't get to snack like James in between the first and second session, but hopefully I'll get a chance to do it after we talk to these change makers.
Yeah, indeed, change makers. So, Kelsey, tell me, what do you see on the post right now? What kind of news do we have?
pretty much everywhere is too early to call. Especially these battleground states like Florida. That's kind of what they're on right now. They're looking at Ohio right now. But I know they called Vermont, and I'm not good with my map. I couldn't tell if it was Illinois or Indiana. I don't know which state it was, but right now, projected that Donald Trump has 11 electoral votes, and with the Vermont votes, Biden has 3. So, but it's still very, very early in the night. So.
Very early. Very, very early. Anybody pick up anything from anywhere else? Did anyone pick up any news from anywhere else outside of what Kelsey just said? We're going to have some feet on the ground, so we'll hear from them as soon as they get wherever they are in the city. So what are you looking forward to seeing in Louisiana? Well, we'll start with Baton Rouge. What are you looking forward to seeing in Baton Rouge? What's your hope for Baton Rouge?
So this is actually my first time voting in a presidential election and my first time voting in on such a big scale here in Baton Rouge. So I'm just kind of excited to see what the breakdown is going to be when they get to Louisiana. Will Baton Rouge be a make or break kind of parish? I almost said county because I'm from Alabama, so we say counties down there. But or will it be one of those counties or parishes that kind of get, is that's in the shuffle? So I'm very excited to see it, to see not only my state, but to see it down here because I have been here for college for almost 4 years now. So I feel like I'm right in the thick of things. So I'm really excited to see how Louisiana and Baton Rouge plays out as somebody who voted down here and voted on the Louisiana ticket. So
explain to me the process, since you are an out-of-state student, explain to me the process that you had to go through to be able to vote here in Baton Rouge.
So I had to register, and I had to register in person, or I had to mail off my registration. The very first time that I tried to do it, I got denied because I just think that I didn't fill out my form correctly. We in Alabama, all I had to do was go online, put my driver's license in, and then my driver's license number in, and I was registered to vote. But when I came down here, I had to actually fill out a paper form because I don't have a Louisiana driver's license, and I had to take it to the registrar myself. And so being able to do that, it provided a challenge, but nothing that I made sure that I understood the rules, and I had somebody that helped me through the process. So that's why I've kind of taking that task on to do for students on campus, because so many students at Southern are off of out-of-state students, and it's so much easier, one, to vote down here, and two, the politics and elections that occur down here affect us regardless if we like to say, if we claim Louisiana or not. We pay taxes down here. If we were to get stopped by a sheriff, we're going to get stopped by a sheriff down here. If we have to go in front of a judge, it's going to be a Louisiana judge and not a judge. They're not going to fly a judge from where we're from to handle our case. So that's something that we wanted to make sure that we educated my fellow students on and my fellow peers, so that way they understood that, one, it's just an easier process to get it done down here, and two, because the politics and the people who are in office, they represent us and our interests while we're at Southern University.
Okay. So, Chris, what are you looking forward to in this? We'll start locally.
Oh, man. I'm looking forward to seeing the people of Baton Rouge stand up for what we've all been talking about, what we all been believing in. I would say ever since 2016, that's when I was really impacted by the politics of Baton Rouge. I just turned 18, so now I was more involved. I wanted to learn how to vote. I wanted to understand how everything worked, because now I'm more affected. I'm an adult now, so just being through all of that, and now up into this point where now I get to vote inside my first presidential election, because I wasn't allowed to. I was too young last time. So I just want to see Baton Rouge stand up for what we all been believing in, what we all been talking about, and seeing people not being so discouraged, because I see a lot of discouragements on social media, talking to different people. They looking at the polls, they seeing the way things are going, but it's so early that they're getting discouraged. I don't want people to be discouraged by the results that we're seeing so far, because I mean, it's 7 o'clock. We still got time, you know.
We still have time.
And God's will be done.
And I'm glad you said that, because I want to remind everybody that the polls are definitely open until 8 o'clock tonight. So there's my banner. The polls close at 8 o'clock. I want to make sure everybody go out. I mean, you still have time. It is not 8 o'clock, and as long as you are in line, you will be able to cast your vote. So let's hear from Tania and James. What is your expectation for locally? Whoever wants to go first, it's fine.
I'm really curious. You know, they're talking about it being a runoff in the mayor's election. So I'm really curious to see if that will actually play out that way. And I'm interested in seeing how some of the district council races turn out, because I was able to be a part of some of the other CUPs and hearing some of the platforms. So I'm very interested to see who's elected in those districts, even in the ones that I don't live in.
Yes. And Mr. Jefferson?
So for me, I'm just really interested in the numbers. I'm curious to see how do we stack up to the 2016 election. Whether you vote Democrat, Republican, I'm just merely interested in how many people actually took it serious enough and exercised their right to vote. So that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah. So I want to, if I can ask, does it do Tania or James or Kelsey or Christopher, do you have any questions you want to ask and put out to Facebook or to YouTube? Maybe we can get some responses from the people that are watching.
No,
yeah,
I'll take.
Oh, go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I don't, Chris. You good? I don't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing, why do people believe that it is important to vote? Because everybody has their own personal reasons why, and I just love to see, like, what pulls you to want to go out when you see that line that's long, right? What keeps you in the line? You know, because when I did early voting, and I think it took us about 40 minutes. We were waiting in line for about 40 minutes when I went over there on Essen Lane. But I stayed, you know. I stayed because I knew it was important. I knew that my ancestors and people that are of the same color as me, they died for this, you know. And if I don't participate, who will? And if I don't be a part of a system that's changing things, who will? So I want to know, like, why do you vote? Why do you participate?
I have something here. Somebody put this up here, and it said James 4:4. Let's go and read that, y'all, since we are. from our lovely United Christian Faith Ministries. Let's see what it says. So I think that that's his answer as to why.
If you're a friend of the world, you're an enemy of God. That's what that scripture is about.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? We talked about that a little bit on last. Actually, we've been kind of talking about that a little bit in a sense to say that, you know, God's will is going to be done, you know, but our faith should definitely be in Him, not the government and politics and things like that. We do understand that there's governance for the land, you know. But so I would assume, I guess if Mr. Eddie Miranda Say is listening, I would love to hear you expound on that. This is an open forum. We want to hear from the people today. Yeah. So does anybody else want to make comment to that? Okay, that's good. So I have a question. Let's see here. My question, Tania and I were talking earlier, and basically we were saying that we don't think that we've ever known any generation that has come about, or that's come through the ranks to be so influential. You know, I know you're probably sick of hearing the word. I don't know, you may not be sick of hearing the word millennial, but the millennial generation, you know, we've had the generations of war, generations of change. We have the baby boomers, but your generation is such an influential generation as it relates to culture, as it relates to change. I mean, you guys have, in just 1 year, less than 12 months, you've been very active in social justice. You've been very active in civil matters. You've been very vocal about the voting process, you know. So I don't know if you, well, I wonder, why do you think that's so? Do you think it's just the time, or do you think it's the access to what you guys have had access to over the years? What do you think that's about? And anybody can chime in, millennial or not.
I think it's both. I think it's a little bit of a lot of things. I think it's about the access of the technology that we have at our fingertips. I think it's about the events that has been going on in our country, because I think that we've experienced firsthand. This is the generation that grew up when Barack Obama was running for president, and I said this on the last call that I know when I was in elementary school, they brought the booths to our school and we voted. And at the end of the day, they told us who won in the first election between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. So we had that experience. I think a lot of us grew up with parents who took us to the polls. And then the fact that when we see the things that has been going on, we see Tamir Rice, we see Trayvon Martin, we see Michael Brown, we see ourselves in these people because they're our age. They could easily be us. They could easily be our friend. Breonna Taylor, our age group, had a life waiting for her just like we did. And I think that we understand that what's going on in this country no longer is impacting the older people, it's impacting us. Mm-hmm. So I think that we use that technology and we use that technology and we use that influence that we have on social media and just across all types of media to ensure that we're pushing our agenda, because at the end of the day, we're going to be the next ones up. This country is going to be our country to lead and to hold, and getting ready for the next generation after us, who will probably be even more influential than us, in my opinion. And I just think that it's the time and it's the access, and that's how I feel. It's such a crazy question because it's like you don't know what to pinpoint, but that's how I feel about it.
Tania, you work with college students, correct?
Yes.
So what do you think about that?
I would agree with Kelsey. My background is social work, and so we're advocates by our profession. And so I see a lot of young people who are involved in every area, including social justice, the election process, and just working with.
So while she's buffering a little bit, I want to ask the question about Chris. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You want to jump in and she can come back. She'll jump back in.
Okay.
She's buffering. So
okay,
go ahead.
I think that I totally agree with Kelsey. The experiences we had the internet allowing us to see things that happen that we just heard about or read about, right? And that ignite a passion in us. But also, I believe that this generation has a special anointing that like God has given us to be that change, right? We are in like a place where I believe this generation is being attacked in such a way because there is an anointing on us where we have that ability and that power to shift society. And I believe that we're getting opposition in the opposite direction to make us lazy, to make us want things before we should actually have them, to make us not respect the wisdom of the people that came before us. It's all of these things that's pushing us in the opposite direction than what we're going. And I think that only is further evidence of the anointing that this generation has to change society. And I believe that is like one of the main reasons why we are so influential.
Yeah.
So I'll make a comment on that, Monica. Then I want to ask a question. I had this discussion with one of my classes. The fact that we have students in college that's 21-ish, 22-ish, 23-ish. And if we think back 8 years, more importantly, what has happened over the last 10 years, what this age group have seen over the last 10 years, I didn't experience that at their age. So you're talking they were around maybe 15 or 14 when Trayvon Martin happened. Fast forward a year and a half later, then you have a Michael Brown situation. Then you have a Alton Sterling situation. Then they had an opportunity to experience a president like President Obama. And what I mean by that, not so much from maybe his politics or his policies, but just to see a person of color and the inspiration that can give to young people. They had an opportunity to experience that. And then they also had the opportunity to experience a transition in leadership. And then after that transition in leadership, you see a George Floyd and a plethora of other things. What they've seen in 10 years is just is unthinkable. And so I think that they've had an opportunity to experience so much and to see so much. And then not only that, but to educate themselves in a way that perhaps we didn't in 2000, 2002, 2003, when I was in high school. So I just think that all of that together has really positioned them for a time such as this. And so I'm just as excited about that generation to come behind us, and what the next 10 to 15 to 20 years look like. Hats off to you young people, and the position that you guys are in. But my question is, I know when we did the town hall with Pastor Ellis on last week, I'm not sure if it was one of you two guys, but somebody talked about the bubble and the bubble that college students find themselves in, and it kind of contributes to them not being interested in voting or getting involved in a political process. My question to you two is, what do we do on November 4th to start changing that narrative? Like what comes to mind when you wake up in the morning and we have 4 years of whomever we name president, whether it's tonight, tomorrow, Thursday? What is the plan of action? What's the steps that we take to kind of burst that bubble looking forward to a 2024?
I don't know if Chris
No,
wants to
you
go
you
first,
go ahead
but
first. Yeah.
I think what that's gonna what this moment is teaching us is that voting is the first step to being civically engaged, and I believe that we have to start having that discussion about how, as a community, how as college students, can we get engaged after we go to the polls. So voting is the first step. but what's next? How do we make sure that we're holding our elected officials accountable? How are we how do you write to your elected official? How do you call your elected official? How do you advocate for things on the local level, on the state level, on the federal level, when outside of the things that you're accustomed to? I know Cam had said that on the last call, and I personally, I feel like that I was able to do that because I don't feel like that I live in a bubble, but I feel like that I was able to, I feel like that because of experience that I had before, feeling like that I was in a bubble and couldn't do anything. And so I busted out of that bubble and found my way. And that's how I ended up wanting to be a political scientist and want to work for civil rights, is because I wanted to be able to help other people who might not look like me or who might not have the same experience as me. And I believe that we have to understand that we not only do we have an internal, not only do we have personal interests, but it's also, as responsible and as civically engaged citizens, we have to make sure that we're fighting for the interests of those around us who cannot fight for themselves, who might not have those same avenues and opportunities or education and knowledge to advocate in a way that is effective and that they'll see change come out of it.
Okay, Chris, how do we motivate, you know, college age people, or just particularly students on a college campus? How do we start to burst that bubble that y'all talked about on last week?
I'm gonna draw from a source that's gonna seem kind of weird, but stay with me. Growing up, commercials that we used to watch on TV, especially the commercials that were against like smoking cigarettes, right? That had a huge impact on our generation. I know a lot of people that are so against smoking cigarettes in my age because of the way that they presented the cigarette, because of like the media and like the image that they portrayed. I believe the best way to try to burst that bubble is to infiltrate it where that person is at. They caught us where we were at, right? They knew we were watching TV, they knew we were watching certain programs, and they knew what story to spin in order to make us understand and then relate to it and then change our mind about it. So if we're able to meet people where they're at, like Kelsey was saying, people that don't understand, we understand what they don't get, then we start to educate them, and we also motivate them with success stories of things that did happen. So God forbid we don't get to see the person that we want to see in the presidential seat. Show success stories of things that have happened on a local level, on a state level, so that we can still get encouragement. So when you're educating people, you're still showing them this is still possible. Even though we didn't get this, we still got this. And I believe that would be a really great way.
So marketing, kind of reaching the students and getting their attention. I like it.
Yeah. My forte.
So that was my only two questions, Monica.
I just want to let you know, I'm gonna put this up here, that our source that was out on the polls, she went to canvass the polls just a moment ago. We were gonna bring her in to see if we can talk to some people out there, and she said that the lines are very, very low. So that's exciting. So I'm thinking people have early voted. They voted earlier today, and it's good to hear that the lines are slim. So everybody, oh, that's a good thing for two reasons. Hopefully we have a lot of people that have already voted, number one, and number two, if you still want to run and go vote, you still have time. You don't have to wait in the line. I just wanted to know, I put a rhyme in right there. You still have time and you don't have to wait in the line. Kelsey, I see you're watching some stuff, so go ahead and tell us what you see.
Okay. So right now, Biden is projected to have 51. That was 51, right? 51 electoral votes, and Trump has 42. Mitch McConnell in Kentucky, which everybody knows is the Senate Majority Leader right now, he won his race. So another 4 years of McConnell. But that is all that I've seen right now. Like I said, a lot of these battleground states are still very, very early to call. And I think that it's even more important to say that personally, how in the discourse that I've been having with people is that I think that all the results are going to be very early to call, because a lot of these states, well, you know, with the time that we're in with these mail-in ballots, a lot of these states are not equipped to handle that amount of absentee ballots, or you have these states where Republicans are going to courts and trying to get things not counted. So I think that we all have to be patient and talking to each other to understand that it might be a couple of days or a little minute before we know who truly is going to be our president.
Yes. So I have a question, and this is going to be, we have about 4 or 5 more minutes left because we talked a lot about locally. I want to know, both of you are attending Southern University, correct? So tell me what you believe is the connection between our federal government and our leader, our president, and the trickle down as it relates to HBCUs. Chris, your face.
Go first.
Well, first things first is that they choose who the Secretary of Education is. So that in itself has a lot to do with how we operate at the local level with our schools. Then their budget proposals. So the budget that they have to give, I believe in February, is the date before the fiscal year. How much money do they allocate to education, but how much money do they allocate to HBCUs in that funding? So without that kind of funding, because as we all know, most of our HBCUs are public universities, so we get our money from the federal government and from the state government. And so without money allocated to us by who's in charge, who's the head of state, then we see school closures, we see programs die out, such as our economics program has died out, our architecture program has died out, and there's so many students. I wanted to come to school for economics. There's so many students who's like, if we had an architecture program, I'll be in there. And so we see buildings falling apart. We see our facilities not being upkeep without that money from the federal government, because at the end of the day, the states can only give so much when we're divvying up between all the different public schools that come into the state. So I believe that there is a direct line that it is very important who we have, not only at the local level, but at the federal level as well.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Chris. Any words to that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I believe these last, 3 years for me since I've been in college, it has definitely been a disconnect. Not necessarily saying that it's totally the president's job to be concerned with how HBCUs or colleges in general are doing, but when you don't feel like somebody is on your side, that takes a toll on what you believe can and cannot happen. And I believe that if we do see a leader of the United States talking about trying to uplift HBCUs, especially since a lot of them are projected to not even be in existence in the next 20 years, I think that you would see an increase, right, in people wanting to attend them. You would see more monies being flowed to those HBCUs, and you would see an overall boost in morale. And that really means everything, because if students aren't willing to go to those schools, if students don't feel comfortable, students don't feel connected, then they're going to go to other schools, and we're not going to have them anymore. So it's definitely important for us to feel like we're connected to that office.
Okay.
And we don't right now. So.
Okay. Tania, you have anything to add? I have one last question for them before they go. Well, actually for everybody.
I was going to just thank them for their energy and their efforts in the process. It's I don't know if you guys heard that part of my comment, but it's been really exciting for me to see the energy of the age group and almost like a reignition, is that the word, for my generation as well. So I just want to thank you for your energy and your efforts, and it's much, much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we're going to do a little activity. Raise your hand if you voted early on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We all voted early. It was so nice to have y'all. Kelsey, I may call on you in about an hour or whatever so you can give us some feedback on what's going on. Enjoy your party, Christopher. Enjoy your studies. I'm not quite sure you finished your homework.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. We may call you next week. We don't know yet. So we'll just stay close to your phone. Thank you for jumping on. We appreciate you so much. And y'all have a nice night. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good
Good
night.
night.